with the Operating Engineers Local 150 and a member of the Rebuild 290 Coalition. I'm here to introduce a lineup of dynamic speakers, but first I'd like to recognize some folks who will not be speaking today but are very important to this process. With us today we have Mayor Joe Ballerine from Riverside, Mayor Katrina Thompson from Broadview, Mayor Rory Hoskins from Forest Park, Mayor Kathy Aducci from River Forest, Mayor Nathaniel Booker from Maywood. We also have in attendance with us Tom Katarik, Senior Vice President of Transportation from the Civic Committee, Tricia Walsh, Vice Chair from the Illinois Road and Transportation Builders, Greg Bales from Senator Dick Durbin's office, and Aaron Elliman from CMAP. So it's with my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Senate President Don Harmon.
Thank you, Mark. It is great to be here with a group full of friends, and we have a lot of speakers, so I'll get right to the point. Rebuilding the Eisenhower is the quintessential opportunity to build back better. And we can do it in a way that has an eye towards social justice, towards climate change, and towards repairing some of the lingering scars through our communities. Now, I've often joked I may have been the only 8-year-old to suffer nightmares of eminent domain. My mother told me stories about the construction of the Eisenhower. She was a young woman, and it just took an entire block of houses from the eastern border to the western border and demolished them. I was really unnerved by that, but even today, you see this ugly scar running through our village of concrete and metal, and it has never fully repaired the community. We've separated neighbor from neighbor. So it was widely acknowledged that the Eisenhower Expressway was an engineering marvel in the era of Chicago's phenomenal growth, but over its existence, historians and the media have similarly documented the toll it took on the people whose neighborhoods were divided and demolished beneath it. There were vibrant Greek and Italian and Jewish and African American communities that were just bulldozed. If your parents or your grandparents had anything to do with the west side of the western suburbs, their lives were changed by that project. Thousands of people had to relocate, hundreds of businesses were lost. And now here we are more than 60 years after that project was finished, and we're faced with new needs and new challenges and new opportunities. The Eisenhower ranks as one of the most congested highways in the nation. All of us who took the Eisenhower here today can attest to that. The Blue Line is in urgent need of upgrades and expansion. We have a chance to make things better, not just in terms of faster commutes, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reconnect communities, to repair racial inequities and displacement, and make a difference. This is a chance to take the lessons learned over the past 60 years and put them into practice. We stand united here today in calling for others to join in making this project a priority. This becomes a reality if and only if federal transportation officials join with state and local leaders in providing resources. The passage of President Biden's national construction and investment agenda is a tremendous step forward. Yesterday, on one of the first briefing calls on the federal bill, Secretary Buttigieg and the U.S. DOT asked that we identify and advocate for transformative projects in our communities that can benefit from federal funding. Well, here we are. I've made this a priority since my first days in office, and I'm glad to have so much company calling for federal transportation officials to join with state and local leaders in providing resources. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Morning after bear losses are never good, but we're here for an exciting opportunity. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Jack Lavigne, President and CEO of the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. And first, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for Senate President Don Harmon for his leadership on this project, his outstanding leadership in support of such an important issue, investment in infrastructure and jobs. We're at an economic crossroads. We need immediate solutions to kickstart our economic recovery, and the I-290 and Forest Park Blue Line reconstruction project does just that. And now, with the federal infrastructure bill passing Congress this weekend, we have a real opportunity to build upon Illinois' already national leading transit hub status. The I-290 and Forest Park Blue Line are key regional economic arteries connecting the west suburbs and the west side of the city with the economic engine that is downtown to allow the movement of our workers, our residents, our businesses' products. However, as a study completed by Mary Tyler and the Illinois Economic Policy Institute demonstrates, this key highway and the Forest Park Blue Line need serious modernization. In fact, in 2020, I-290 was ranked the most congested highway in the U.S., limiting our mobility as a region. And as the Senate President said, I grew up in Elmhurst. We've all traveled this road. We know what a bottleneck it is. I've been doing this for almost 60 years. It is a bottleneck. This project will not only help us compete in the global economy long term, but will create nearly 22,000 jobs, generate $70 million in both local and state tax revenues, as well as $2.6 billion in gross domestic product to accelerate our economic recovery and our growth. These investments in I-290 and public transit will improve mobility and job accessibility for residents of historically disconnected areas. Mobility means opportunity and inclusive and equitable growth. These all are key considerations companies make every day when deciding where to make long-term investment and hiring decisions. For all these reasons, I'm delighted to stand here today and call on our federal and state leaders to prioritize the reconstruction of I-290 and the Forest Park Blue Line. I also want to thank our partners in the business community, Kelly Welsh and Tom Qatar with the Civic Committee, Mike Storino with the Illinois Road Builders, and Kevin Artle with the American Council for Engineering Companies, as well as leaders in labor like Bob Reiter and Mark Poulos. When business and labor work together, these are the types of bold and transformational things that can happen. Job creation, inclusive and equitable economic development, and investments in infrastructure. With that, I'm honored to hand this over to Bob Reiter, President of the Chicago Federation of Labor, but I want to thank again Senate President Harmon for his outstanding leadership to bring this to the forefront, bring this to our investment, and I want to thank all our partners up here for what we're doing to bring and move the economy forward and invest in infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. So fittingly, we have the Speaker of the House, Emmanuel Chris Welch, who has just arrived after a traffic jam on 290 this morning. So it is with great pleasure I'd like to first introduce our Speaker of the House, Emmanuel Chris Welch.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mark. I apologize for being late, but I live in Hillside, and I got stopped by the Hillside Strangler. Then I got stopped by the Bellwood Strangler, and everything in between getting here on 290 this morning. And I think Senator President Harmon and all of the mayors standing behind me will tell you, we love the Ike, but the Ike don't love us. This interstate is among the most congested in the nation. And I got to tell you, the Senate President and I just got back from London. The traffic was horrible in London. But London has nothing on the Ike, and we have to fix the Ike, and we have to fix the Ike now. I'll tell you, when it was constructed, it was done in a way that had little regard for the lives of so many people in our state. It displaced neighborhoods like Greektown and Little Italy. It profoundly altered the West Side, the Austin neighborhood, and the village of Forest Park, where 3,500 graves were forced to be relocated. It also led to a demographic shift in many of our African American families concentrated in those areas. It led to the departure of 13,000 families and 400 businesses from Chicago alone. And when constructed, the Ike was designed to handle 40,000 vehicles per day. Now, it's carrying 200,000 vehicles per day, and wondering why it's so congested. We must modernize this regional transportation hub. It's a gateway to Chicago from the western suburbs where we all live, and a vital asset of the CTA and freight railroad lines. But most importantly, we have a chance to get it right. We have a chance to make history in our state that's going to go on for the next several decades. We owe it to our state, our people, to reconnect our communities, to repair those racial inequities and the displacement caused by the original construction of this interstate. And not only will the reconstruction of this national corridor improve our transportation needs, but it will promote economic development. It will add $2.6 billion to Cook County's GDP and will allow disadvantaged communities access to good-paying jobs. Reconstructing this congested highway will put people to work. It will put people to work from communities like ours. The state legislature supports this reconstruction, and we must use federal resources included in the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure bill to make sure it happens and make sure it happens now. The time to uncongest the Ike is now. Not only will this benefit our state's economy and improve safety, but it is the right thing to do. And someone who's going to help us get this done, a great leader in the labor movement from the Chicago Federation of Labor, I'd like to bring up my friend and yours who's going to help us untangle the Ike, Mr. Bob Reiter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Speaker said, my name is Bob Reiter. I'm the president of the Chicago Federation of Labor, which was founded 125 years ago today. The CFL represents approximately 300 unions and in turn represent 500,000 workers right here in the hometown of the American labor movement, Chicago, Illinois. Chicago and Cook County's economy depends on solid infrastructure, but our infrastructure continues to deteriorate and we must continue to reinvest in it because it's an investment in ourselves. Infrastructure investment means better roads and bridges, better schools, clean water, efficient manufacturing. It's the underpinning of good paying, working class jobs here in Chicago. And as we continue to emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, good jobs, worker training, and a fair shot at the American dream is what people need. And rebuilding the I-290 corridor checks all the boxes. It's not just going to create direct jobs, it's going to connect communities to jobs and education throughout the West Side and the rest of the region. And that's why the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act is so critical to us in Chicago. It's going to help us continue to make a difference in people's lives. If anybody's got a backhoe or a grinder, I'll run out there right now and grab a couple of apprentices and we'll get to work. We'll rebuild that road, we'll create better infrastructure, we'll get our transit going. Let's do it now, let's do it quickly. Let's send the money here to Chicago. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Now I'd like to call up Oak Park Village President Vicki Scammon.
Thank you. I'd like to really thank President Don Harmon and Speaker Chris Welch and members of the 290 Rebuild Construction Coalition. I'm here with the mayors of the western suburbs. We've got Joe Ballerine from Riverside, Rory Hoskins from Forest Park, Kathy Aducci from River Forest, and Katrina Thompson from Broadview. This is an opportunity for all of us to come back together and connect our communities. We're all each investing in our communities right now to rebuild stronger, and we need the support of reconstruction of 290 to help us do that. We need to modernize the 290 expressway and to be able to rebuild our small businesses as we work together for rebuilding of the 290. This is an opportunity right now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor. And finally, we're going to hear from today Mary Tyler, who's the Transportation Director at the Illinois Economic Policy Institute. Alepi and Mary are going to be releasing a study on 290, the latest of its kind, to discuss the congestion and the problems with 290. So with us here today, Mary Tyler.
Good morning. Thank you, Mark. As Mark said, I am Mary Tyler, the Transportation Director for the Illinois Economic Policy Institute. We are a nonprofit research organization that provides analyses on projects and policies impacting Illinois, and transportation is one of our primary areas of research. As such, we have recently completed, as Mark said, an analysis of the I-290 reconstruction project, and this report was released this morning, actually. It evaluates the needs and expected benefits of the project overall. And today I just want to touch on some of the highlights from that report. I-290 is an important component of the Chicago region's transportation system overall. It serves as a primary link for commuters from the western suburbs into the loop, in addition to providing access for nearby residents and those of southern Cook County to major job centers around I-88 and O'Hare. It's a road serving local residents, regional commuters, and freight traffic. And despite its importance, 290 has not been adequately maintained and updated to meet the region's needs. So, looking specifically at existing conditions, as much as 90% of the underlying pavement and subbase is more than 50 years old. Additionally, of the 44 total bridges on this stretch of 290, 34% are considered structurally deficient and 86% are functionally obsolete. And looking specifically at transit, the CTA Blue Line stations adjacent to 290 require transit riders to use narrow sidewalks along busy roads and pedestrian crosswalks that lack appropriate markings and signals. The corridor also experiences significant safety and operational issues, with this 13-mile stretch of 290 having experienced 43 fatal crashes from 2010 through 2019, with 4.3 fatal crashes occurring on average each year. And the reduction of 4 lanes to 3 between Manheim and Austin leads to severe congestion during peak hours, as I think many people have experienced this morning, producing speeds as low as 10 miles per hour. But the I-290 reconstruction project would address many of these issues, delivering accessibility, equity, mobility, and economic benefits to the Chicago region. Overall, this project ranks as one of the best highway projects in the Chicago region to improve job accessibility for residents of economically disconnected areas. Also, travel times are projected to be reduced by 25 to 56%. Access to existing transit stations would be improved with wider sidewalks, high visibility crosswalks, lighting, pedestrian signals, and many other improvements. And the construction of I-290 is estimated to create nearly 22,000 jobs, paying on average $80,000 a year, and it would grow the economy by more than $2.6 billion. And these are really just some of the benefits of I-290's reconstruction. Overall, this project is creating a modern transportation corridor. It's not just a highway project that's focusing on road and bridge improvements. It also includes pedestrian and transit access, adds express bus opportunities, and promotes carpooling. It's truly a multimodal project that will benefit the region, and with the recent passage of the federal infrastructure bill, we hope these benefits will soon become a reality. Thank you for having me here today. You can find more information on this topic and everything I talked about today in our report, which was released this morning, as I said. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the Rebuild 290 Coalition, I'd like to thank Senate President Don Harmon, Speaker Emmanuel Chris Welch, all of our presidents and village mayors, labor and management, and the public and private sector folks that are here with us today. So again, thank you and have a wonderful morning.